Understanding the Disability Market Value, presented by David Fazio, President of Helix Opportunity.
I'm happy who I am. I actually don't need anything. I mean, if I could fly, maybe it would be okay. Am I disabled? It depends which definition we use. Of course I'm a disabled person. Do I see myself as an impaired person? No. I'm just who I am.
A combined surplus of $8 trillion is now attached to the emotional response that we have to your branding and marketing efforts. You need to understand that disability is very much how an individual sees themselves and how society perceives that individual. We're at a critical juncture when any company can edge out its top competitor by simply developing a brand that consumers with disabilities identify with. A brand that pushes messages that interest us to buy rather than crusades on the principles of doing the right thing, the honorable thing, to provide us access. That being said, lesson number 1 is branding. There's a monumental difference between branding and marketing. Sponsoring conferences and other disability-related organizations and events is branding, not marketing. The same goes for hiring employees with disabilities. These efforts do not attract us as customers. They're simply an expression of the essential characteristics, attributions, and values of your organization. Your compliance with accessibility law is risk mitigation, not good customer service, nor is it thoughtful or meaningful design. These actions develop a public persona for your customers to emotionally bond with. They create loyal customers, advocates, even evangelists out of those who do buy. But branding does not push any particular call to action to buy or even use your products and services or visit your virtual or physical locations. That is a marketing tactic. Less than 10% of global enterprises are actively engaging our gigantic market because most brands isolate us with their equal access is the right thing to do campaigns. Thankful as we may be for this legally mandated access to the marketplace, we actually resent this concept of ableism. You have competitors, and many of them. No one company is safe. We choose those brands that harmonize our desire to receive a meaningful customer experience without identifying us as the customer with a disability. Case in point, Microsoft and IBM were both industry leaders not that long ago. Both companies placed accessibility in a top priority. Yet, both of them have been dethroned by whom? Apple. You will seldom find a human being on this planet deviating from Apple products when given the choice. This is especially true of the disability community. Apple was decades ahead of its time when they began designing products that include us in the pleasures of mainstream society. Apple's core competence has long been, and still remains, delivering an exceptional and enjoyable experience through superb user interfaces, not simply making products accessible. The company's product strategy is based around this, with the iPhone and its touchscreen gestures that are reused throughout their product lines, all playing key roles. The distinctive features of all Apple products and services remains their elegantly simple use. Their branding strategy focuses on emotions. The starting point is how an Apple product's experience makes you feel. Their brand personality is about lifestyle and imagination. Apple does not unintentionally stigmatize its users and isolate them through these experiences. The huge promise of the Apple brand is intuitive and sexy technology that everyone who's anyone could and should use. That includes users with disabilities, as their products make us feel just like everyone else. 16 years ago, Microsoft was the center of the technology universe, considered to be a monopoly with a market capitalization of nearly $620 billion. Apple was teetering bankruptcy. Yet early in January of 2015, Apple reported their latest earnings with a market capitalization of $683 billion, more than double Microsoft's value of $338 billion. Apple earned $18 billion that quarter alone, more than any company ever in a single quarter, on revenue of $75 billion. Its free cash flow of $30 billion in one quarter was more than double what IBM, another once dominant tech company, generates in a full year, according to a senior Bernstein analyst. Apple now dominates the personal computing, business enterprise, and smartphone industries. Apple attracts users of all different abilities by providing meaningful user experiences that everyone can share in, together, and in the same way. This is both a methodology and an achievement that I call harmony at work. Apple has rebranded its accessibility icon from the traditional wheelchair image to this figure standing with arms wide open. That sends a resounding message that these features are for users of all different abilities. The Apple brand resonates so strongly with the disability community that they don't even need to market directly to us. Which brings us to lesson number 2, marketing. Target, on the other hand, does. And this is exactly the kind of push tactic that communicates a results-generating message that we can all identify with. This Target ad received more than 500,000 likes on Facebook from all over the world. The little girl's mother told CBS in an interview, "The cool thing about this ad is that Target didn't make a huge deal out of it. The company never sent out press releases or reached out to media. Target didn't include a message on the page saying something like, 'We're happy to include a model with Down syndrome this week,' and then direct you to a place where you can donate to a nonprofit. Nor is this a catalog for families with special needs. This is Target, one of the biggest and most widely recognized retailers frequented by Americans from all walks of life. This is a great example of inclusion." Target's done this before, featuring ads with 11-year-old Ryan, who also has Down syndrome, in 2012. Ryan graced the pages of a Nordstrom catalog earlier that year. The father of a different boy with Down syndrome posted Ryan's Target ad and lauded the retailer for being seamlessly inclusive without drawing attention to itself. He wrote, "This wasn't a special clothing for special people's catalog. There wasn't a call out somewhere on the page proudly proclaiming that Target's proud to feature a model with Down syndrome in this week's ad. And they didn't even ask him to model a shirt with the phrase, 'We aren't all angels,' printed on the front. In other words, they didn't make a big deal out of it. I like that." There's a recurring theme here, and it all culminates with the success of Nordstrom, having found wealth in the consumers with disabilities demographic. They are now their industry's leader, with both the largest number of store locations and the largest geographic footprint of all their luxury retail competitors, while boasting higher revenues than all of their competitors. They may not realize it, but all of the evidence demonstrates this. Back in 1997, Nordstrom announced an aggressive growth strategy, just after the company began featuring models with disabilities, which actually started in 1991. At that time, the company only had 86 stores in 18 states. They now have 296 stores operating in 38 states and Canada. This model in a wheelchair with short spiky hair matching her punk rock outfit, dark leather jacket, and featured sale item, short boots with the buckled strap, is from an ad in their July 2014 catalog, kicking off the upscale retailer's largest event of the year. That signifies customer priority to persons with disabilities by showcasing us in such an important issue and focusing on the purpose of the advertisement without siphoning charity and sympathy through the model's disability. This edition includes a woman in a wheelchair modeling boots and a man with a prosthetic leg modeling Nike running shoes, among others. Showcasing models with disabilities has become so much a part of the company's DNA that its regular customers don't even realize how unusual it is. The clothing isn't adapted in any way. The model wearing Nike shoes has one on his foot and the other on his prosthetic device. Nordstrom spokeswoman Tara Darrow says that the models reflect the customers and communities Nordstrom serves, that it's an opportunity for them to see themselves even when they're looking through the book or online. This is why Nordstrom leads their industry in average revenue growth over the last decade. Now you may be wondering how that is due to customers with disabilities, and how do we know that their ads are reaching customers with disabilities? Well, Nordstrom's year-over-year increases in revenue tell us that their advertising campaign works. It does not matter how many customers identify as disabled or not. What matters is that they are attracting customers. You don't just shoot for one star when advertising. You aim to bring the entire universe together. Remember the I Want to Be Like Mike campaign? Gatorade humanized the idol Michael Jordan by surrounding him with children of all different ethnic and racial backgrounds from countries all over the world trying to play basketball and goofing off with him. It was one of the most successful marketing campaigns in history because they did not try and carve out the African American market by playing on his race, just like your ad campaigns should not play on our disabilities. Duracell took a crack at it, but failed in the end.
They told me it couldn't be done, that I was a lost cause. I was picked on and picked last. Coaches didn't know how to talk to me. They gave up on me. Told me I should just quit.
And the last bit is...
They didn't call my name. Told me it was over. But I've been deaf since I was 3, so I didn't listen. And now I'm here, with the loudest fans in the NFL cheering me on, and I can hear them all.
This commercial utilizes a frequency feedback noise as audio cues that call our attention in 3 out of the 8 scenes that showcase Derek Coleman's hearing aid. They subconsciously draw our attention and alert us to the fact that he's hearing impaired. They drill that point into our brains by framing his oversized hearing aid 8 different times in 60 seconds. They ruin the commercial at the end, however, by insulting our viewing intelligence when Derek Coleman proclaims that he's been deaf all of his life. First of all, that's factually incorrect. Derek Coleman is hearing impaired, not deaf. If he were deaf, he wouldn't be able to hear at all. Secondly, it's abundantly clear in the first 10 seconds of the commercial that he has a hearing disability. Duracell made a conscientious decision to make this advertisement about the man's disability and not the star athlete's accomplishments, though. This is exactly the kind of rhetoric that the disability community is struggling to break free of in the 21st century.